Damascus, 5th of April 2017. This is Tom Duggan, and Tom Duggan is a British journalist who lives in Damascus and can tell us about the latest happenings in the war in Syria.
Today is a black day for Damascus. I'm sitting here in the French hospital in Qasr near Batum. Since the Western media has told lies about a gas attack by President Bashar al-Assad, which is in fact a strike that was done by the Syrian Air Force against an ammunition dump owned by terrorists, and their factory was hit, a factory that makes chemical weapons. But to Western press and Western media, they ignore all this and they go straight to the old rhetoric, the old narrative of gas attacks. There's no gas attack. It was a factory that was making chemical weapons that was destroyed, and the gas spilled out.
So what's happening in the last days here in Damascus, or we can say the last 2 weeks? We are hearing bombings, shellings, and airplanes in the sky.
The area of the TV building in Damascus was attacked yesterday. 12 people were killed in a library. Prior to that, there was another shell landed quite close to the Opera House at around about the same time as the opera people were going in to watch their opera. Everything is timed to perfection as far as terrorism is concerned. The attacks take place normally when it's the busy time of day, during the rush hour in the morning or the rush hour in the evening. Damascus is made of concrete. Everything that in Damascus is concrete, the building. That's the chosen material they use. Concrete is extremely strong. When a shell lands on open ground in an open battlefield, the ground absorbs the shock. It directs it up in a V shape. In Damascus and in the surrounding areas in the concrete, it spreads. There's no absorption of shock. It spreads around about 6 feet in a level and cuts everybody in two. The majority of injuries are limbs, the maiming of children, the maiming of women, the maiming of men. Most people lose their arms or their legs because that's the height of the shell fragments or the ball bearings, depending on the type of weapon they use. This hospital has seen so much action. I was here when my niece was born, and I ended up carrying her across the corridors under fire from the maternity wing. With all the men, we emptied out the observation bay of the maternity wing with newborn babies and carried them to safety.
So who were the attackers?
Al-Nusra. They fired several rounds into this building, and the Syrian Air Force came and took out the two guns that were, the two mortars that were firing at us. The main culprit is Joba, which is approximately 1,000 meters from here. So it's not that far.
The Al-Nusra terrorists keep throwing rockets, and
what
exactly do they throw?
They throw gas canisters, propane gas canisters, improvised. They're quite dirty actually because they use rusty nails, scrap metal to fill them, so they cause maximum amount of damage, plus they also leave secondary infections. The artillery shells are normally really bad milled. In other words, they're not professionally made like Western artillery shells. They're made in Saudi Arabia or some other Gulf state and transported to Syria to do the maximum amount of damage. You can tell because you can see the grooves where they've been doing the grinding on the weapon just to make the shape.
So while all this is happening, the Western media decides to blame Assad again of chemical attacks, even though the chemical weapons have been given away.
Well, part of the relationship between President Assad and the Western governments was in 2013, 2014 to dissolve all the chemical weapons, get rid of all the chemical weapons. And a UN report quite clearly states that there was no chemical weapons left in Syria.
Yeah.
What there is homemade chemical weapons that are being made by terrorists. Chlorine gas, for instance. It's green. It's heavier than air. If you don't wash it off, it burns. The first thing it destroys is your eyes. And it has a really, really bad effect on children because it destroys the lungs, it damages the lungs.
So you say the rebels use the chemical weapons, and
I say the rebels use the chemical weapons all the time and put the blame on Bashar al-Assad. I say that the Syrian Arab army is winning at the moment. If we look at prior to Christmas, 41 days without water, and what did the West say? Illogical. Bashar al-Assad destroyed his own drinking water. No general, no leader would destroy his army's drinking water. Nobody would stop the people from drinking.
I mean, you live here since 4 years, right? You have a Syrian wife, and you are surrounded by the Syrian people day and night, and you even go to the front lines and film what the soldiers are doing, what's really happening in the war. So just tell us what the Syrian people want in one sentence, if possible.
They want to go back to before the war. That's all they want. They want to be left alone. They want to just be safe, bring their children up. They want exactly what you and I want. They want peace and happiness. This is not a religious war, right? It's a war of proxy, a war of outside intervention.
We're just hearing blasts.
That's normal.
Yeah.
So now you realize what it's like for a Syrian citizen living in this area.
Yes.
This area is shelled all the time. You've seen today the amount of shelling that's come in. You heard yesterday about 12 people being killed inside a library. A library where students go and learn. Not a military target.
Exactly.
Because they're losing on the battlefield, they're attacking soft targets, people in the street.
Well, thanks a lot, Tom Duggan.
It's my pleasure.
Talk to you soon.